Hi, and welcome to the first ever episode of our podcast, Immigrant Success Canada, the coaching program for a successful and happy life in Canada as an immigrant. My name is Emanuel Petrescu, and I have my co host and partner, Charlie.
Hi, I'm Charlie Beck. Welcome to our podcast.
And today, as said, marks the first ever episode of our podcast. We are going to cover a lot of information in this podcast, a lot of things that we ourselves, as newcomers, at one point wish we would have had at that time. Now, a little bit about ourselves, and we'll get to introduce ourselves even more. Charlie, a couple of words about the program before we get to know each other even more, and I'm going to ask you how did you end up in Canada, basically. But let's talk a little bit just for 2 seconds about our program, Immigrant Success Canada.
Absolutely, Emmanuel. Our program is called the Immigrant Success Canada, which is providing coaching service for new immigrants. We'd like to new immigrants to be successful and happy in Canada.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, uh, since we are the co-founders, I would say that the people watching us would like to know more about us and about our journey. Where do we come from, where we are, and where we're going? And I suggest to start with you, Charlie. What what's your journey? How did you end up in Canada, and most specifically, why did you immigrate to Canada, and from where?
That's a very good question. I'm originally from South Korea, and I immigrated into Canada because of two reasons. First, healthcare and education. So let me tell you why from South Korea to Canada. About 25 years ago, I was working for a bank in South Korea, and at the time, my bank decided to lay off one third of our employees because of Asian currency crisis. So I was terrified at the time because I just got married and I have one son. And one day I met my one of my best friends at the coffee shop, and I told him I'm very concerned about my future. What if I lose my job? And my friend told me that Charlie, what about immigrating into Canada? So what are you talking about? So because my friend's point was I was really worried about healthcare and education in Korea when I do not have any job and any income. So my friend's advice was that Canada provides public health care system and good education. So really, but I don't have any money to go to Canada. How can I go to Canada? So his response was Canada accepts immigrants to fill their skill gaps. So really, so which means without money, if I have skills they need, I can immigrate.
Still
So
true today.
yeah. So after the talk, to confirm his advice, I actually visited a bookstore and bought all the books about Canada because I did not know very much about Canada at that time. And I read all the books, and he was right. Canada was accepting new immigrants based on skills they need. And also, Canada was ranked number one country in the world to live by the United Nations rankings 5 years in a row. So, wow, this is fantastic country.
and
And
and still is.
yes, because of that, I immediately applied to immigrating into Canada. And that was my beginning of a Canadian journey for me. And that's now, after 25 years now, I have lived in Canada for more than 22 years. So that's how I immigrated into Canada.
Uh, I'm curious to know, at the time the process was different than it is today, right? You had to write your application by hand, submit it via mail, not email, nothing electronic, and it was that waiting period, right? It was something different than we have today in the immigration process.
Yes, of course. Yeah, it was much different than now, 25 years ago.
So, how long did it take from the moment that you decided to come to the moment that you actually applied and the moment that you landed in Canada?
For me, it took about more than 2 years. So from I applied to a permanent resident, and then I received a letter of acceptance about 1 year later, which was not that long. And then I had to decide actually going into Canada or not, right? So it took another year for me to make my own decision
You
for me
didn't,
and for my family,
yeah,
right? So
you didn't came alone. So I need to ask, how was the experience when you told your family? Were they all okay with it?
no, actually, my wife was strongly against going into Canada because uh, my wife could not speak English, and we did not have any relatives or friends in Canada. On top of that, at the time, I got a new job in German company in South Korea as a finance manager. So I was doing really well and I was well paid. So my wife's point was, why would you like to give up all those things and starting new in Canada? So she was strongly against about my decision. But at the end of the day, I she followed my advice, and then we decided to come to Canada.
What does she think about it now after 20 something years in 2022?
Now she's very happy because she has her own business, and our children were grown up very well, and so she's really happy about it. And also my children are happy their life in Canada, and I'm also very happy in Canada. So all my family members are very happy now.
I noticed that you mentioned the word happy a bunch of times. It's not just success, but also happiness.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the key word. Yeah. I want my family and I both happy and successful. Yeah. That's the important thing.
Because it sounds to me that you were quite successful before coming to Korea, right? You were highly educated, you had a job at a bank, and although the company was in trouble financially, you easily found a different job at a German company as well. So it's not like you weren't successful back home, yet you choose to come to Canada in spite of that.
Now, Emmanuel, why did you decide to immigrate into Canada?
That's a good question, Charlie. Thank you. I decided to come to Canada to be with my wife. We're both originally from Romania, East Europe. We knew each other for a while, and we got married in 2016. So obviously, Canada is the natural decision. Came the decision came natural in terms of building a happy life with a family, with the children, and for the future. And I came here in late 2016, early 2017. I came just around between Christmas and New Year's. That's why I say late 2016, early 2017. And since then, I've been more happy, and I like to think that I've become a little bit successful in what I do. I'm a digital marketer, so I had the opportunity to take everything from zero, from scratch. I saw this as an opportunity. Now, I didn't came at an early age. Probably I was a little bit older than you were when you came to Canada, and it's been quite the journey so far.
Fantastic. Yeah. So each one of us uh, has our own story, right? So that's great. Welcome to Canada, Emmanuel.
Welcome to Canada, Charlie. And only this year, in 2022, I've became also a citizen.
Oh, congratulations on your
Thank you,
citizenship.
thank you. And that's something worth mentioning, that Canada gives allows for citizenship to be taken significantly faster than any other countries compared to, let's say, US. Or I believe the standard time for most countries in the world, including Romania, is at least 10 years. So you need to live in a place for 10 years in order to be able to apply to citizenship. And even if you live there, there are certain restrictions. So from that sense, Canada is more flexible. You can get your citizenship after 5 years, after 3 years. I believe it's currently 2000 days of living in Canada, of being a resident. So that's one important aspect as well
Hmm,
to consider.
that's a good point. And about the process of getting citizenship.
Okay, so what is this Immigrant Success Canada that we've been preparing and creating for the past year together? I believe people would like to know more about it. You said at the beginning of this podcast just a brief introduction of a coaching program for a successful and happy life in Canada. But I would like to take this opportunity to go a little bit more into details and explain to our listeners more and why a coaching program is important. Because I'll be honest, from where I come from, I was reluctant, or I didn't knew much about what coaching is, what mentorship is, and all of these things that are quite popular and are, I would say, default in North America.
Absolutely. Emmanuel, the reason you and I co-founded uh, Immigrant Success Canada is because we are passionate about being a Canadian, and we'd like to help and coach new immigrants to be successful and happy. And our program is basically based on our own experience, your experience and my experience. So both you and I have gone through ups and downs in Canada. So starting new life in Canada and also maintaining our pride and also our family for long term is not easy job. So
No, sir.
both of us understand it, and because of that strong need and because of that passion, and now both you, Emmanuel, and I feel that we are happy, and successful. So we'd like to help new immigrants not only successful but also happy.
Happiness, yes.
So Emmanuel and I co-developed this program, and our program is based on holistic approach. So our focus is long term, which is over 20 years, not just 1 year or 2 years. Based on our experience, the first 3 to 5 years would be extremely difficult for most of new immigrants. So we like to provide a strong foundation for new immigrants to be successful for the next 20 years. So that's the uniqueness of our program, and we like to provide quality service to our clients. That's the key element of our program.
When you say the first 3 to 5 years will be difficult, that's not something very appealing. We both went through that time, and arguably any newcomer has had a buffer period which was a little bit more stressful than one might think when they come to Canada and envision their life here. I can tell from my experience, and something you highlighted, that's quite important, to be an immigrant, to be able to share what you've gone through and to give yourself as an example to the to someone that might go through similar things. I will take just a random aspect, for example, job search. Although you may have an education, you may have some experience, there's still a struggle, there's still an issue when a newcomer arrives in Canada. How what can one do to overcome some of these challenges? What helped me is having mentors. What helped me is having coaches that were very specific for a section where I needed help. Let's say, for example, I was applying to jobs, to interviews. So I had a coach and a mentor who was helping me on that. So the reason why we built this program is because we want to help ourselves, the ones that we were 20 something years ago or 6 years ago in my case, what I would have want to have, what tools, what support I would have needed back then.
Yes, because of those reasons, our program is composed of five key elements. So, first one is self-assessment. So, we'd like to provide self-assessment whether you are a good fit as an immigrant in Canada. So, we'll provide tools and assessment because we want you to be successful. So first thing is know yourself. So that's our first module. And then second module is about education. Education is extremely important in Canada for yourself and also your family. So because at the end of the day, education will provide your long-term success. So we focus on building your education in terms of continuous learning and improvement. And
Foundation, a
then,
strong foundation.
yeah, and then third one is work and life balance. So each person has different desire in their work and life. So what it means to you. So for you, more success and fame, or more leisure time and more happiness and time with the family. So, how to make good balance is very, very important for yourself and your family. So, we'll provide how to make those choices when you choose a job. What kind of job is best for you to achieve work and life balance? And then, fourth module is natural environment of Canada. Canada is the second largest country in the world and huge land and beautiful scenery. So we have to enjoy Canada fully. So in order to enjoy Canada, what kind of recreational activities and then what kind of uh, tours or visiting places. So because as I told you, how you enjoy yourself and your family will ultimately help you to grow and going to be successful. And then lastly, fifth module is action plan. So we'll provide a tool. You will develop a plan for your next 20 years, how you implement in your all areas, education, work, and financial situation, budgeting, and all those things. Because to be happy and successful, you have to have plan for the next 20 years. And then you need to update every 5 years. So that's our core program. Our program is composed of 5 modules.
Okay, I'm in. Where can I sign up?
So first thing is go to our website, and we have a very professional website. So go to website and you'll find all the details about our program. And then if you are satisfied, sign up for our program.
It's worth mentioning that our for those that listen to us only, that our website is www.isc-go.com. So isc-go.com. Over there you'll find contact forms and links to our social media platforms where people can reach us directly. And it's worth mentioning, Charlie, that if people go to our website, they're going to see some other faces as well, other coaches and other advisors, other successful people from Canada. It's worth mentioning just a couple of words to introduce to our listeners our other coaches and advisors and what they do, what their role is, and who are they. Because we have one Nobel Prize winner as well, right? In our on our side, on our team, as I like to say.
Indeed, yeah, we have 5 excellent advisors and also coaches for our program. So they help us to improve our program and make our program work best for our clients. So visit our website, you'll see their profiles, and they are excellent entrepreneurs and also public sector uh, management experience. So both public and private sector work experiences you can easily identify. So please check it out.
Yeah, because in Canada you can be successful in an entrepreneurial way, or even just by having a job. Again, it's a mix of success and happiness as well. And I've learned a lot from working with people such as our advisors, and I can only tell you this: I wish when I came to Canada there was a program such as our program that we developed, and it's continuously improving. Because although we've been here for a while, we're still immigrants, we're still very anchored in the reality of our country, but also in the realities of the countries we come from, the mentality, the perception, and what's expected. So that can be a shock for many. I don't believe anybody thinks that Canada is the land of milk and honey, but at one point there will be a shock coming, let's say, from a working environment from a different country and being here in an office environment, or the working culture is a little bit different, for example, in North America compared to Europe, and I'm pretty sure compared to Asia as well. So our program will help smoothen this transition and it will be a reference from people who have gone through what you're going through or what you are going to go through because you've made the right decision of immigrating to Canada. Before we leave our listeners for this episode, we encourage them to subscribe, like, share, comment, and engage with us on our website and on all of our social media platforms. But, Charlie, do you have a couple of closing remarks for this episode?
Yes, Emmanuel and I started this podcast because we believe that we will provide insightful and meaningful topics and dialogue which will help new immigrants understand and then improve their life. So this is our first episode, and we will keep recording episodes based on your interest and based on our research and study what kind of topics would be relevant and important for you. So stay tuned for the next episode.
I will also mention that we will have some very interesting guests on our show, guests from all walks of life in Canada, from professors, teachers, college, university, high schools, to athletes, to basically people from all walks of life, immigrant, but also Canadian born citizens, and so on. So for sure, this would be a show worth watching. That said, thank you for taking the time to listen to our podcast. I hope you by now you're already subscribed and you already visited our website. My name is Emanuel Petrescu,
My name is Charlie Beck. See you in the next episode.
and see you in the next episode.